I have somebody who's here on very high public demand, and I would like to make this announcement, and then we will be open for lunch. Just give me 1 second. Okay, my next keynote speaker has 5 decades of management experience. Majid Aziz Balagamwala, sir, President, UN Global Compact Network, Pakistan. I would like to invite sir on stage with a very, very loud round of applause, please. Sure.
Bismillah Rahman, thank you very much. I'm sorry that I'm intruding in a way. My speech is at 2:45 p.m., but you know, there are certain obligations that we have to do if we are leading or any organization. So with all due apologies to the all of you, ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to see all of you here, and I thank HR legends, especially Ghulam Mustafa and Zafar Osmani, he's somewhere here, for asking me to be here. Now, if I talk about HR in the sense of HR, I would be really playing to the gallery and singing to the choir, which you all are experts. I'm just a businessman or an industrialist, whatever you want to call it. So what I would like to do is give 10 minutes I have, and I'm sorry I'm keeping you between lunch and your presence here, but I would like to just highlight the 50 years that of my career in running an industry or being part of industry and in other activities, and I think that that would be much better. Ladies and gentlemen, I came back in 1973. Now, here is a lesson for those who, you know, I don't know how they do it nowadays here. After doing my MBA, I had to do my MBA, you know, my father put a gun on my head and said, you have to go in America and get a degree or whatever. So, when I came back in 73, what they did was they put me in charge. ये आज आपसे director हैं आप. And they put me in charge of administration, accounts, HR, finance, everything. Now you handle it. And I had absolutely zero knowledge about the laws, about the various matters dealing with labor and human resource in Pakistan. Maybe I took a couple of courses there, but that was part of the my degree. So when I came here, I discovered that, and it was those difficult days of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and the so-called Islamic socialism, whatever it means. I was asked to now handle everything, and we had 4 units. And what happened was, because of the in the labor issues, they had bifurcated into 4 different factories. And what happened was, each factory had more than 70, 80 workers and 100 workers in those days. And our mother factory had, of course, a lot of more workers. And so there were unions everywhere. And then I was a young 23-year-old and put in charge of handling the labor. Now, in those days, what happened was every labor thought himself as a big labor leader. And when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did great things for the workers, giving them EOBI, SESI and all that, he also ensured that the labor movement would eventually collapse, which most of the laborers don't accept it here. What he did was he hosted a first tripartite labor conference in Islamabad, but he made it mandatory for each labor federation to send only the president and the general secretary. So now the others thought that, you know, we would be left out. So there was a mushroom growth of small labor federations so that they could be invited there. So in effect, while Bhutto gave them benefits, gave them some voice, he initiated a plan that eventually destroyed the union movement in Pakistan. And you see today. Now, I had no idea about what is the CBA and how to negotiate. So I had just one quality. आई एम अ मेमन, सो मेमन की स्टाइल कुछ अलग ही होती है. So I, infuse some Maiman thinking into my negotiation with them. But at those times, everybody wanted to go on strike and everything. And there was a junior labor courts who were inundated with labor cases, no matter what kind of labor cases were going on. Now, in those days, there was a standing order 1968, if I'm not mistaken, and the IRO 1969, which is changed right now. And when I read 26(1), it says that the notice will be given for a new agreement. But it never said that it will be the labor that will give the agreement. So I got a brainwave and I sent a notice to the union कि इतने duties कम, holidays कम कर दो, इतनी तनख्वाह कर दो, इतनी, completely reverse of what the union asked for. Mahmood Ghani was also surprised that and I said, tell me where, you can't do it. And then in 26/3, 10 days later, I gave them a lockdown notice. What happened was I saved, so when we went into conciliation, things changed. So this was one way to get some kind of sanity in those days. Now, as I said, strikes were galore, cases everywhere. For no rhyme or reason, on a small point, the union filed a case against me under Section 34A, which that unfair labor practice and not consulting with the CBA and all this nonsense. And of course, I had to go there, and the penalty was imprisonment. So on the day when we thought the judgment would come, the last day, my lawyers told me to get what you call a pre-arrest bail. I got that. But मैंने कहा ना थोड़ा दिमाग भी लगाना पड़ता है. Fortunately for me, I usually have guardian angels, all over. And then this guardian angel came and said, yaar, I know the judge very well. He took me to his house, which was small, really appreciate, not unlike what is happening now where the judges are living in palatial palaces and having so many plots. And there was no talk about any money. But what happened was, he was maybe convinced about me, and he knew from my attitude that, I was being taken for a ride. And he was known as the hanging judge. And the next day, the labor had come with garlands and flowers and everything and waiting for Majid Aziz to be taken in the police van. And the judge initially came heavy on me, but then he said, he found out that one of the labor had made a mistake and said, yes, sir, Saab ne hame bulaya tha. That one word in honesty saved me and gave a good judgment. So that's when I learned that now we have to do a rethinking. From there, you have to understand, as I said, the Bhutto was instrumental in destroying them. What happened was that the contract labor started. And that's where unionization went down the hill. Today, they're talking about 1% unionization, which includes state-owned enterprises. But in fact, there are not too many unions in the true sense. Now, as I said, after that, learned and I improved my relation with the labor, I started also thinking what they thought about and, got them on the right side. And mashallah, since 2001, I have a union in my factory. It is not a pocket union, they are real-time union. But since 2001, 20 years, we do not have a written collective bargaining agreement. We are doing it totally trust factor. And that was important to develop that trust. And they say, साहब हम आपके employees हैं, आप हमारी फिक्र करें, आप बताएं क्या करना है. And so the owners also came on us, and we started thinking about workers in the true sense. I have 5 more minutes. I have some 5 minutes. Okay. Now we formed a Workers' Employers Bilateral Council of Pakistan. Usually ILO. tripartite. But we made worker employees. In fact, I gave the name WebCop. And we sit not across the table, but on the same side of the table. Now, that's a long subject, so I will not go into it. But then, when I got into this quagmire and gradually became chairman of Site Association, president of Karachi Chamber, eventually landing up in Employees Federation of Pakistan and becoming the first elected South Asian Forum Employees President until everybody kicked me out, I made sure that I promote also a bilateral point of view. So much so that most of the workers think that I'm part of them. And in fact, when I was elected the Employees Federation of Pakistan and the foreign delegation came, we had a bilateral meeting and they said that we, the labor leaders, have planted Majid Aziz as president of Employees Federation of Pakistan. Another worst thing is going on that we have labor inspection, 127 labor inspectors in Sindh. Most of them not on merit, most of them unqualified, have no idea in the true sense what is OSH, what kind of inspection to be done. But, you know, there are ways and means to keep them happy and which you all understand. I was also privileged because of Mr. Ashraf Tabani, who was the president of Employees Federation Pakistan some 20-25 years ago, that whenever there were difficult programs of ILO around the world, I was the Qurbani Ka Bakra, so I had to go there. But I developed a good network with them. And even today, mashallah, I am on the governing body of ILO also. And I was elected when I just become the president, and it was like 6 months, and in Geneva when they have the International Labour Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I want to speak more, but you know, the time is short, and you have to have a lunch. But I have a lot of things to say. My main point is that I looked at HR from a different angle, because I remember that when I was in the Managing Committee of Employees Federation of Pakistan, I would have a lot of colleagues who were HR directors or HR personnel managers, and they would talk about how many cases were in the court. And I hate courts. I make it a point to solve the problem even at my disadvantage. But what happened was, I used to tell them, you are so much qualified, you have got the degrees, you have got experience, why are there so many cases against the workers? While my manager of one of my garment factories, who probably, Allah Jannah Naseeb Kare ab isko, who couldn't write 20 words in English, we did not have labor cases. And my conclusion was that in most of the multinational and big companies, they call their workers by numbers, and Mr. Sattar called them by name. And I think that was the difference in labor relations between well-organized, formal, multinational or large corporation and somebody like my manager who was taking care of my administration. So I would now... I write a lot of articles on labor and other things, and since now I'm no more the president, I have a lot of time. So I would like to end with about 4 or 5 takeaways. So maybe first and foremost is that we should treat our employees and labor as human capital, not somebody across the table. They are our capital. I can't do stitching, I can't do dyeing. I have to depend on them. They are my hands and feet to do it. I may be the brains behind marketing, finance and other things. So treat labor as human capital, and we should ensure that we provide them a comfort zone in your factory, because badi mushkil se aate hain, bason mein latak ke, with load shedding and with the children sick and all that. So we have to provide them a comfort zone, and that can also be done by increasing trust factor, by introducing a right kind of trust factor. The third is, I don't know about other organizations, but in many of our factories and our enterprises, we have what I call the special financial resources. It's not part of any agreement, it's not any part of anything. Lekin agar mazdoor ke beti ki shaadi hai or he is seriously ill or something like that, where if he goes to a loan shark, he'll be paying an arm and a leg. So we have developed a system where a certain percentage of profit is earmarked, of sales is earmarked for this fund, and we have a very transparent and a very quiet, silent system so that the labor does not have to worry about these issues that crop up once in a while. Please always try and support and assist your labor. They have many issues. And where will they go? They look up to you. And if we don't help them, which is their right and which is their requirement, which is their need, then, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing really a disservice to our own workers. So I always ensure that my GM and my department heads, and including us directors, wherever it is genuine, we support and assist our labor. And ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have the GSP. There are some of you who are in exporting to the European Union. This is my last point. We have to worry about the 27 conditionalities of EU, which includes the 8 labor code standards. And it is imperative and incumbent upon all of us to ensure that Pakistan image is very much highly projected all over the world, because they keep blaming us. And unfortunately, there are so-called social activists, so-called some labor reps or others who try to portray a negative image of Pakistan. It is our job also, all of us, to project Pakistan in the right sense. And in the end, I always end with my 2 slogans. The first one is, ladies and gentlemen, when no one can do it, Pakistan can. We can do anything and everything. And ladies and gentlemen, and this is, when I say this, I've said it in the US Chamber of Commerce in Washington, I've said in Geneva, I've said everywhere, that please understand, we can do what no one else can do. And my final is that whatever we say, wherever we go, whatever we think, whatever we do, for all of us, it is always and always Pakistan first. It is always Sabse Pehle Pakistan. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.